Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha Shruti Smriti Purana Namalayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vatyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandhadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramarutah Stunmanti Divyaistavaihi Vedais Sankavadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasti Tadadgatena Manasam Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyam Tanna Vidhusura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So namaste once again, all of you.
Namaste, Guruji.
Yes, I hope everybody has marked their attendance. If somebody has not done, please do so. So last week we saw a dramatic change in Arjuna's attitude, Arjuna's perspective about this entire war. Whereas he had come prepared to fight the warriors on the opposite side, he suddenly started seeing all of them as his own relatives, his friends, his kith and kin. And that changed his entire perspective towards the war. He forgot that this was a dharmic war he was fighting. In fact, he started thinking that if he kills all these people, it will be adharma. So what was dharma a few moments ago or a few hours ago suddenly has become adharma now. And the Vyasacharya says, Kripaya Paraya Avishtam. Okay, so overpowered by this attachment. The word he uses is Kripaya. Now, the word Kripa, we have to understand this word very carefully, because if you look at the dictionary, the word Kripa, it will say compassion. So many of authors take the meaning of Kripa here as compassion and translate it or explain that Arjuna was overpowered by compassion towards all these people. And that is why he did not want to fight the war. And this is a very common mistake even we do. As I told in during the beginning classes, there is a very, very small difference or a very thin line dividing what is love and what is attachment. Love, compassion is a manifestation of love, whereas attachment is a manifestation of raga. But we cannot normally make out whether it is love or attachment. And that is why we commit this mistake. And here, Vyasacharya has used the word Kripa. And which is why this confusion can come possibly. But what we have to understand is, normally, whenever we use the Kripa in the meaning of compassion, it is used for a jnani, for a, a Satpurusha who knows about himself. And the same word kripa, when used in the context of an ajnani, we have to take the meaning as attachment. So overpowered by the emotions which are related to attachment. The fear of losing those people. The fear of some harm being caused to my people. So again, where we can separate these two, love and attachment, is that love, there is no mamakara. Whereas in attachment, there is a mamakara. And as we will see in the next slokas, here Arjuna is smitten by mamakara. He calls all of them my people, my people, my people. So that is why another reason that there is a justification for taking the meaning of kripaya here as attachment and not compassion. So I just wanted to explain. So here Arjuna happens to be an ajnani. Therefore, kripa should be translated as ragaha. So ragena avishtaha, overpowered by the emotion of attachment. And here also, it is not an emotion that he voluntarily or knowingly or with full awareness took upon himself. That is another difference between, compassion. Compassion is an emotion which the person takes upon himself with full awareness, looking at the condition of the other person, which requires some help or whatever kind of kindness or whatever it is. So this person, this emotion, he decides to take that emotion of compassion and shows his kindness, shows his love, gives protection to that person who deserves this compassion. All that is there in the case of a compassion. Whereas in the case of an emotion which is raga, it is not done with awareness. It just overtakes the person. It just drops in and then completely destroys that person's emotional balance. So that is another difference. So what we can do is find out whether you are the master of the emotion or whether the emotion is your master and driving you. If latter is the case, it is a case of attachment, raga. So that is why a jnani, he will entertain such emotions as a master, whereas an ajnani is a slave of that emotion. For a jnani, emotion is an action. It is a trigger for an action, willfully, consciously entertained. Whereas for an ajnani, an emotion is a reaction. And this Vyasacharya indicates by the word avishtaha. Avishtaha means what? Overpowered. So Arjuna was kripaya paraya avishtaha, means what? He was overpowered by the emotion of attachment. And Swami Paramatmananji in these talks, he says that many people ask this question. For example, anger is an emotion. And it is advised, Shastra says that you must, master your anger. You must control your anger, all that. So many people ask this question. Isn't anger an useful emotion? Especially when it comes to controlling or disciplining the children. And many people, they argue in favor of anger because they say that without getting angry, the servants do not work, children do not obey, nobody listens, all these things, So they have found the anger to be a tool to be used for making other people do what they are supposed to do. And they say that if we tell lovingly and compassionately and all that, nobody will listen. They'll just walk away. And they also quote, spare the rod, spoil the child. Another one. So you have to beat the children. You should not spare the rod when it comes to the children. All these quotations, everything, justifications galore they give. Why we should have anger, with us. For that, Swamiji gives a very nice answer. He says, yes, no doubt, in our Vyavaharika Jivan, anger is a very, very important tool. The clue is, it is a tool. If you are capable of using anger as a tool, then there is no problem. What does that mean? It means that you use anger as a tool to discipline the other person or make the other person obey, and you, after the work is done, you are able to drop that tool. Keep it down. Like a screwdriver or a hammer, you take up. It's a tool. Say to hit a nail or a screw a nail somewhere. Once that is done, you keep the hammer or screwdriver away. You don't carry it with you always, rather. So similarly, if you are able to master the anger, master the emotion of anger, and use it only when you consciously decide, oh, here I need to use this tool for getting this work done. Use it and then drop it. No problem at all. But many times what happens? First of all, anger is a reaction for us. It is not a conscious action. And once we get into that anger reactionary mode, even though the work might have been accomplished, that anger continues with us. For a long period of even few days, it may continue. That is where the harm of anger is. Because after accomplishing what was to be accomplished, the anger, the emotion of anger starts actually, affecting your own emotional balance. And that is not advisable. That is what Shastra is against. So if anger is a tool in your hand and you know how to use that tool without getting cut, getting injured. But many people don't know even how to use a hammer. They will hold this nail on the wall and hit the hammer and they will be hitting their thumb actually. They don't know how to use even that tool. So if you know how to use anger as a tool, and if you know after using it to drop it, no problem. Okay. And that is why, many times we don't manage anger. It's actually the anger which starts managing us. And again, coming back, this is the difference between a jnani and ajnani. A jnani, even if he uses anger, if we find a jnani to be angry at sometimes, we must understand that he is very well aware of what is he doing and he will drop that immediately after whatever work is required to be done is done. Whereas an ajnani keeps on carrying forward this emotion. And that is exactly what is happening insofar as the emotion of attachment is happening with Arjuna. He is no longer the master of the emotion. The emotion has overtaken him rather. He has been overpowered by the fundamental problem of samsara or raga. And once a person is overpowered by raga, then its twin brother, Vishidam. Vishidam means grief, sorrow. It will follow. That is no doubt about it. And this is what has happened to Arjuna. That is why Vyasacharya says, Vishidan idam abraveed. Stuck with grief, Arjuna said the following words. So whenever there is attachment, sorrow will follow. It's like the two sides of the same coin rather. One will not go without the other. And the intensity of the sorrow will be directly proportional to the intensity of the attachment. And in the case of Arjuna is paraya kripaya, extremely intense emotion here. And therefore, his sorrow was also extremely intense, as we will see in the next sloka. So thus in this sloka, we find the transformation of Arjuna. An angry Arjuna has become a sorry Arjuna. A rational Arjuna has become an emotional Arjuna. A soldier Arjuna has become a samsari Arjuna. That is what has happened. So this is the first stage of introduction, because before Gita comes, the Gita teaching comes, everyone has to go through these three stages. Soldier first becomes a samsari, then the samsari becomes a disciple, a student. So Arjuna soldier has to get converted into an Arjuna samsari. And the samsari Arjuna has to be converted into a disciple. Once this takes place, once he has become a disciple, a student who is eager to learn, who has actually understood his problem of delusion, his problem of confusion, then he surrenders to the Guru and tells the Guru, please teach me. Please give me a solution, Guru. So any Guru has to, if he is going to take on a student, he has to wait for these stages. He should not short circuit. When the Arjuna is a soldier Arjuna, he should not start Bhagavad Gita teaching. He has to wait for the soldier Arjuna to get converted into samsari Arjuna and undergo all the sorrows or grief of samsara and become so intolerant with the grief that he finally comes and tells the Guru, please guide me, please teach me. Shadimam Twam Prapannam. Shadimam, please teach me. Twam Prapannam, I surrender to you, O Krishna, says Arjuna in the next chapter. That is when the Gita teaching starts. Okay. So this portion is talking about a soldier Arjuna who came just before he said, I want to inspect both the armies. Soldier Arjuna, the commander Arjuna was talking. Now who talked in the last two slokas is a samsari Arjuna, overpowered by emotion of samsara. And unfortunately, or whatever it is, Vyasacharya, if it was a movie, all this can be shown very nicely, isn't it? Vyasacharya has to use only certain words for explaining all these things. But we have acharyas like Swami Paramathananda and all who are very good in their visualization and dramatic skills. So this one line, Kripaya Paraya Avishtaha, we have to bring in lot of imagination of our own. For a moment, we have to stop and identify ourselves with Arjuna. We have to visualize that Arjuna is seeing Bhishma and Drona, their faces, and there is a flashback. His mind takes him back to and rushes through his entire childhood life. How he played in the lap of Bhishma, and how Bhishma had played with him. How he used to actually tug on the big beard, that white beard that Bhishma Pitamaha had. And Bhishma used to laugh instead of, scolding him. The stories that Bhishma and Dronacharya had told him. They have hugged him, they have kissed him. So intimate was their relationship. And now for the very first time, they are meeting, not for exchanging kisses, not for exchanging hugs, but for exchanging arrows. And Arjuna, he must be visualizing the consequences of what is going to happen. He knows that he has come to this war to be victorious, so he knows that soon he will be victorious. Yeah, he is confident. He is also confident because Krishna is with him. There is no way where Krishna is, there cannot be any failure at all. The very last sloka of Bhagavad Gita says exactly the same thing. What is the last sloka?
Yatra
Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Parto Dhanurdara Yatra Sri Vijayo Bhuti Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Last sloka. So where there is a Krishna, Yogeshwara Krishna is there, and a Dhanurdara, a fighter, soldier like Arjuna is there, victory is going to be certain. That is what the last sloka says. So Arjuna knows that when Krishna is on my side and I am the greatest soldier, so victory will be mine. With this mindset, what he came to the war. Now he imagines after the war, when he has actually destroyed Bhishma, Drona and all these people, and he goes home, finds the whole home empty. He goes into the room, he hears voices like Bhishma is calling Arjuna. He goes into the room and finds the room empty. The windows are open and there are silky curtains. In the wind, the curtains are just, waving. Nobody is there. Total emptiness. And that room emptiness, Arjuna finds it within himself, feeling empty. Arjuna, Bhishma is not there. Dronacharya is not there. All my relatives with whom all this, my entire house used to be, always active. Totally silent now. All these are imagination. We are just putting ourselves into imagination of Arjuna's mind. Okay. So we have to use, our imagination. If you have got some cinematography, background, you can use, zoom lens and close up and all that kind of a thing. Okay. Some music also you can add. Some sad violin music, at the background and all. So this is a condition of Arjuna. Okay. So, and we can also even imagine, the beads of sweat trickling down the temple of Arjuna when he is imagining all these things. So, but all these imagination, Vyasacharya has captured in this Kripaya Paraya Avishtaha, overpowered, right? So Arjuna is now turned into a samsari. And what is the nature of the samsara? Raga, shoka, moha, as we have already seen. Attachment, sorrow, delusion. Of these three basic problems, two have already seen. Attachment we have seen and shoka we have seen. Kripaya paraya avishtaha. Now we should remember one thing, that Arjuna did not develop this attachment on the battlefield. Arjuna had this attachment all along. But this problem of attachment was not evident to him. Only in the battlefield, when the possibility of losing the object of attachment came, when that possibility arose, then alone the hidden attachment came to the surface. So he had the samsara disease, but that was not evident. It was an incubation period, right? In the battlefield alone, that samsara disease surfaced in the form of this, sorrow. And that is why even in our, day-to-day life, we find it extremely difficult to handle this attachment. Because often we do not know that we have the problem of attachment, and therefore we are blissfully ignorant of that. If when we are ignorant of that, there is no question of taking any action against the problem. Because we are not aware of the problem itself. It's like some fatal diseases, We never know those diseases till we reach some third stage, fourth stage and all that, at which point in time, nothing can be done about it. You just can take some medication, some treatment and all that, but eventually the end has to come. That is inevitable. The disease becomes so powerful that we are unable to take any remedial action. So therefore, these two problems, one is I do not take any action or I can't take any action. And that is why, this attachment, this samsara happily continues. There are only some very rare people who are lucky enough to detect that we have a problem and therefore we should start the remedy right now. Unfortunately, Arjuna finds himself, in a situation of continued attachment. He does not know what to do. Suddenly, this has come up. That is why he is Vishidan, completely drowned in sorrow. And how much sorrow he is drowned in, Vyasacharya dramatizes that verbally in the next two slokas. We will read those slokas. Arjuna uvacha drishtvemam svajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupastitam sidanti mama gatrani mukam chapparishusyate vepatuscha sharire me romaharshascha jayate Gandivam sramsate hasta tvakcha eva paridahyate nacha shaknomi avastatum brahmati ivacha me manaha. Total drama. Arjuna is expressing what he is undergoing. I will first give you the Anvaya, then we will see the word meanings and the explanation. Hey Krishna, Imam swajanam yuyutsum samupastitam drishtva mama gatrani sidanti mukam cha parishusyati vepatuhu cha roma harshaha cha me sharire jayate hastat gandivam sramsate tvak cha eva paridahyate avastatum na shaknomi me manaha cha brahmati iva. Explains his entire physical condition. The problem is emotional, but how that emotional problem translate or transforms itself into a physical problem is explained here very beautifully. And this is what happens to all of us when the emotions are intense. It will convert, those emotions will convert into difficulties, physical problems also. You'll see that later. I'll give you the word meanings. Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna said. What did he say? Hey Krishna, O Krishna, drishtva, having seen, imam swajanam, these relatives of mine, swajanam, he says, mamakara, completely, comes out rather. Swajanam. Yuyutsum samupastitam, who are assembled here, eager to fight. Yuyutsum samupastitam. Mama gatrani, my limbs. Sidanti, they are becoming weak and they are drooping. Mukham cha, my mouth. Parishusyati, drying up. My lips are all drying up. Vepatuhu cha, shivering. Roma harsha cha. Roma harsha means what they call in English horripilation. Means the hairs, the erection of hairs on the skin due to cold or fear or excitement. Many people, we have that, sometimes when especially fear, suppose we are facing some tiger, suddenly all the hairs will stand up, brother. Me sharire, in my body, jayate, are occurring. Hastat, from my hands. Gandivam, is Gandiva bow. We saw that earlier, Gandivam, right? The bow. Sramsate, it is slipping, it slips. Twakcha eva, even my skin also. Paridahyate, is burning. Avastatum na shaknomi, I am unable to stand. I am unable to stand even. Me manaha, and my mind, Brahmati iva, it is reeling as it were. This is what Arjuna is explaining to Krishna, his condition. So he says, oh Krishna, having seen these relatives of mine who are assembled here, eager to fight, my limbs are drooping, my mouth dries up, shiver and horripilation occur in my body, Gandiva, my bow, slips from my hand, and the skin also burns, and I am not able to even stand, and my mind is reeling as it were, as it were. So in the previous three verses, 26 to 28, we saw the problem of raga, which is the first symptom of samsara. From this verse up to 31st, we are going to see the second symptom of samsara, that is sorrow and grief. From raga, we are going to shoka. Later on, we will go to moha. So this shoka is up to 31. Thereafterwards, Acharya will talk about the third symptom, moha, as I said. But this raga to shoka to moha is not Arjuna's problem alone. This is a universal problem. Everybody has it. It's only the object of attachment varies. But the problem of attachment is universal. And here, Vyasacharya wants to highlight, because whenever we are dramatizing something, normally, there is a little bit of exaggeration involved. That is how all these movies, everything, they narrate the stories. There is some, the canvas has to be bigger for people to understand and so relate to that situation. So here, Vyasacharya also is dramatizing the whole thing. And he wants to show that since his attachment was intense, his grief was also intense. And when the mind is intensely affected, that suffering, as I said, will overflow into the body. If it is a mild problem, nothing much will happen. In fact, we can cover it up, we can manage it. Okay. It will not have any effect on the body. It will be there in the mind. Outwardly, we will seem to be, we will pretend to be as though nothing has happened. Oh, everything is fine, no problem. Inside the mind, it will go, a problem will be going on, but it will not flow into the problem of a body, physical body. So after some time, we may even forget it. But when the emotions are intense, it will overflow into the body. We must have seen some people when they become so angry, their eyes will become red. They will actually, they won't know how to control their anger. So they were shivering, shouting, and jumping around. All these things they will be doing, all driven by this very intense emotion of anger. This we have experienced, how the intense emotion get translated or transformed into problems, or at the body level, some indications come up. In fact, when some people are fighting, I've seen this in streets now. People will have to go and hold on to those people, pull them back and all that. hug them so that their bodily problems are subdued or they are actually controlled. And by that, they are able to gain little bit of control over their anger. All this we have experienced. So here also, Arjuna's intense emotional problem is showing up in his physical, at his physical level also. That's why he says, Imam Swajanam Drishtva. I am seeing, having seen all these people who are all my relatives, Swajanam. Swajanam means what? I belong to them and they belong to me. And this is straight away a problem of ahankara and mamakara. We have got a sense of belongings. I belong to someone and someone belongs to me. This sense of belonging is what is called attachment, which Arjuna expresses by one word, Swajanam, my people. If you recall, Dhritarashtra had the same problem so far as Duryodhana was concerned. Duryodhana and his children. Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva. The same attachment Dhritarashtra had for Duryodhana. He used the word Mamakaha. My people, my children. Right? Here he is saying Swajanam. That is all is the difference. So Arjuna, from the level of a dharmic Purusha who wants to fight the dharmic war, has actually come down to the level of Dhritarashtra with all kinds of mamakara problem. Swajanam, he says. Okay. And it is not only here, he repeats this word, Swajanam, Swabhandava, a few times in the next few slokas. And actually speaking, there is nothing wrong in claiming some people as my people. After all, we are all in this world, especially a transactional world rather, isn't it? And we may have the sense of belongingness to somebody, and some people have sense of belongingness to us rather. That's all very fine. But where the problem arises is when the sense of belonging converts itself into attachment, raga. And when the attachment starts to cloud the intellect, we begin to confuse between dharma and adharma. That is the problem, and this we experience it in our household these days. Suppose there is a boy. As per Dharma Shastra, he is supposed to get up early morning and do Sandhya Vandana. Suppose the father goes to his room, said, hey, get up, it's already 5 o'clock. Get up, take your bath and do Sandhya Vandana. What will happen? The mother will rush in. Oh, don't wake him up. Poor child, last night he was studying up to 12 o'clock. Let him have some sleep. One day you don't do Sandhya Vandanam, nothing is going to happen. Let him sleep for some more time. Poor father, what he will do? He can't have anything. The Chief Justice has already given the verdict. So nothing can be done. So this is how slowly this attachment problem converts itself into justifying even what is against dharma. I'm just giving you a very simple example. You can just think about all the examples in your life experiences where, because of this attachment, because of this raga, because of this sense of belonging, because of this bind, the samsara, binding, bondage, what all dharmic things should have been done are given up, and we end up doing adharmic things in fact. And then we will question Bhagavan, hey Bhagavan, why is this happening to me? Bhagavan doesn't speak to us, but if he were to speak to you, he will say, I gave you a full list of do's and don'ts. Did you follow that? You did not follow. It is just like the dog. You go to a doctor and he gives you a prescription of some medicines. You don't take those medicines. You don't get well, but you keep on going to the doctor, asking him again and again, why am I not getting cured? And then even you may tell your friends, he's a useless doctor. He does not know how to treat. You will never disclose the fact that you are the person who is not taking the medicines, who is not following the doctor's advice. So similarly, Bhagavan will say, I have given you Vedas, Shastras, I have given you all Dharma Shastras. Everything I have given you for you to follow. You don't bother. And now why you are coming and asking me why this is happening to me, why I am doing like this, why I am suffering like this. Don't ask me that. And in order to prevent such problems only, in order to not give an opportunity for this raga and attachment to develop, especially when it comes to men, those days during the Vedic period, they used to take the boy after Upanayanam to the Gurukulam. Gurukulam, he will be disciplined. That Guru Mata is not going to tell the Guru that let him sleep for 1 more hour. He will never tell. It is only the biological mother will tell this. So that is why they used to separate these boys. And girls are not that much of a problem. Boys are more of a problem in these matters. So they used to separate the boys, be under the care of the Guru for 10, 12, 15 years. From a Prakritik Purusha, become a Sanskritik Purusha. When you come out fully ready, no problem. Even then you go back to your home and, to your biological parents also, this sense of belongingness would have completely got diluted. Then you will be objectively transacting with them. They will be objectively transacting with you. But normally by that time they would have got married also. He'll get married after he comes out of Gurukula. He will set up his own family and things like that and all. That is how the whole life used to go. Nobody will interfere in his life. He will not interfere in his parents' life. Today, all those are all the problems we are facing. Everybody is sitting here. Even if my child is in America or somewhere, I will give, from here instructions, do this, don't that, don't do that. Child is married, having children. Still, we have the sense of belongings, attachment. Oh, no harm should come to my child. I should tell the child. This is all our problems of attachment. So, it was not until now that Arjuna did not know that these people were my people. That he was fighting with his relatives. He very well knew who his opponents were. But at that time, Dharma was more important. So until now, Arjuna said on the opposite side, there were Dhartarashtra and Durbuddhe. Adharmic persons are there. So he wanted to punish them. So that means his Dharma, Adharma, Viveka Buddhi was functioning. But suddenly, Swajanam comes into the picture. See how it has changed now completely. So this shows that because of the attachment, Arjuna has slipped from Buddhi level to the mind level, from intellect level to the emotion level, from dharmic level to adharmic level. And calling them Swajanam, my own people. How can I fight with them? The very thought of killing them, makes my whole body, all the changes which are, all the problems which we described. So, all these, problem of samsara, which was there within him, suddenly is now flaring up. And it starts expressing itself on the physical plane, which is described in these slokas. And as I told you, in one of the introductory talks, Adi Shankara has written the commentary on Bhagavad Gita only from the 11th sloka of the 2nd chapter. He does not touch all these at all. Because he is coming from a Vedanta point of view. What is relevant for Vedanta, he explains. He assumes that people who have come to listen to Bhagavad Gita are fully aware of their problem and they have come for solution. Whereas Acharya has gone one step backward to say that I need to actually, give a build up for people to appreciate what is going to come as the Gita teaching. Okay. And Adi Shankara actually, for the first chapter and the 10 slokas of the second chapter, he gives a brief summary of what it contains. And there he very beautifully says the problem of Arjuna. He says Arjuna suffered from the problem of aham esha mama ete. These two words, he just says it completes that the whole problem of Arjuna. I am theirs, they are mine. So all these ahankara, mamakara, everything in these two expressions, Adi Shankara, he summarizes that. And these are the people who have assembled there to fight the battle. Isn't it? So the more he thinks about that, the post-war scenario, the more he imagines, the more real it is becoming. And the more intense his sorrow is becoming. Because even if you look at it, if you analyze these emotions are a buildup. They never occur with one thought. When a thought occurs, if you are able to manage that thought at that first occurrence, the single thought, then there won't be any emotional problem. What happens is the thought occurs and then we start feeding that thought with our imagination. It could be a totally, hypothetical situation. In fact, I'm just reminded of a scene. I don't know, many of you are from South, you know that actor Nagesh was there, That's a film. I don't even remember the name of the film. What is happening is that Nagesh is getting married. So there is this Homakunda, fire is there. So he is going around the Homakunda doing the production of that. Okay. And he starts crying profusely. So when he saw that, people are asking, "Arey, you are getting married, you should be happy. Why are you crying?" He says, no. I was just thinking that I was going to the Homakunda. Then suppose my wife's that sari pallu is there, that catches fire from the Homakunda. Then the fire, becomes big. Then she is engulfed in fire. Then I go to actually save her. And then my dress also catches fire. And everybody is coming. And this whole pandal catches fire. And everybody is dead. So that I imagined that. And then I started crying. This is what exactly happens with us. The first thought when it comes, if we actually dismiss the thought, no emotional problem will come. But what happens? Knowingly or unknowingly, we keep feeding that thought and it starts building up. From one thing, it goes to another, takes bigger dimension. Whether it is jealousy, whether it is hatred, whatever emotion you talk about, anger, all these problems do not happen in one thought. Only when the thought is repeated again and again and again in the mind, it starts building up. So any emotional problem is a thought build-up, not a single thought. Single thought will never bring sorrow. Single thought is never anger. Single thought is not jealousy. Single thought is not depression. If you observe depression, the problem of depression in people, in fact, they have been thinking about whatever problem is there so much that literally they got drowned into that and they become depressed and they are unable to come out of it on their own. That is depression. So it's a build-up of thoughts continuously. So how do we manage all these things? The moment the thought comes, be aware of it and dismiss it, remove it immediately. Even when you are doing meditation. Suppose a thought comes, don't resist it. Let it come, let it pass by. You come back to your object of meditation or whatever you are meditating upon. That's what Puja Swamiji always advises. Because when we sit in meditation, we are trying to keep our focus, our mind. Our mind is the biggest villain. It will start playing all games at that time. It will just bring so many unrelated things. You are sitting to meditate. But the mind will not allow you to do that. That's why it says mind is a monkey. It will keep jumping from here to there, there to here. So how to manage it? Let the thought come. The moment you resist the thought, it will start building. The trick is not to resist it. Allow it to pass. That is how, the meditation techniques, we are taught rather. Okay. So, we have to be always aware of what is going on in our mind. And as we become more and more aware of every thought that is occurring in our mind, then we can decide, put our intellect into action to decide whether we are going to act on this or react to this. If you are reacting, then it is the problem of samsara. If you are acting, you are a jnani because you are acting out of awareness. Whatever action is to be done, you are doing it, whether the action to do with yourself or with somebody else, or whatever it is. Okay. So many people, sitting on a beach or a park bench and all, they will be going into depression, thinking of all these things. Swami Paramatmanandaji, in another context, he explained this process of this build-up of emotions. He says that just as waves develop into a severe cyclonic storm in the sea, our thoughts also develop into a deep depression, fueled by strong raga-dvesha. In the context of that, the weather condition, they call it first a system, then they call it a depression, then they call it a deep depression, then they call it a cyclonic storm, and they call it a severe cyclone, very severe cyclone. All these terminologies they use at various stages. All it started with a wave and a system. So from this, as I said, we also get another important lesson. All emotional breakdowns can be handled if you are able to take care of the second thought. First thought will occur on its own. You can't do anything about it. But second thought is in your hands. Somebody insulted me, said something bad. In my presence, he said that. We immediately will have a thought in our mind. That is inevitable because the action came from somebody else. The first thought is an experience. But whether I want to carry that insult with me and go on repeating that in my mind and allow it to grow into bigger and bigger proportion is in my hand. I can say, okay, he insulted me, fine, just dismiss it. Go and attend to what you are doing otherwise. After all, it's not going to affect me anyway. He has insulted me, whatever it is. There is a Dharma Shastra, there is a law of karma. If this insult comes as a papa karma on his account, then he will, get the result of that. As long as I am concerned, no problem. I'm not going to get trapped into this emotional build-up business. You can do that. That emotion cannot overpower me. So initially it's a ripple. Prevent it from becoming a wave. Ripple is weak. But once it becomes a wave, it will become powerful. And Arjuna, what he did, he has allowed a ripple of that thought to become a huge wave, and it has overpowered, and therefore his powerful hands, which had destroyed millions of asuras, fought on the side of Indra. It had gone and caught hold of Jayadratha and brought it to Dronacharya. Everything these two hands had done, now it is not even able to hold his bow. It has become so weak. That's why he says, Mama Gatrani Sidanti. My limbs are drooping. My limbs droop. They are becoming weaker and weaker. Mukham cha parishusyati. My mouth is dry. My mouth dries up. Problem is in the head. But the peculiar thing is the mouth is drying up. We experience it in examinations. And I have done it. We have studied everything, gone to the exam hall. Question paper comes. We read the first few questions, we know nothing. Mouth dries up. What will we do? Glass of water. So whenever the question paper is distributed, any student there in the examination hall is asking for a glass of water, you can take it for granted that he has been clean bowled by the question paper. Mukam cha parishusyati. Okay, that is what happens. Swami Paramathananda ji says, another example he quotes, he says, try public speaking. He says, even let it be a vote of thanks or a welcome address, 2 minutes only. If you do not have that skill, or if you have not that confidence, even though you might have actually whatever you need to speak for 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes, you would have actually memorized it, very confident and all, and go and stand on the stage before the mic and look at the large audience there. 500, 600 people sitting. Mukam parishusyati. Mouth will dry up. Immediately, then be a glass. Take a glass of water and then say whatever you want to say. Okay. Even sweating will start. Many people. If you are not used to public speaking, this is a very natural happening for anybody who is trying public speaking for the first time. Okay. And then Arjuna says, not only that, my whole body is shivering. My hairs are standing on the end rather. My bow is slipping. And I am unable to even stand. My skin is burning. That also he says. Thus, we find that the mind of the courageous Arjuna is experiencing a cyclonic storm, which is manifesting itself into all these symptoms at the body level. And Krishna all along is calm and he is holding the chariot very steady. He is not even looking at Arjuna. Maybe slightly he may be looking like this, but he is not facing Arjuna at all. Just listening to whatever he is saying. Okay. Later in the Gita, when the actual teaching begins, Krishna will turn around and face Arjuna, his student. Now he knows what is going on. And so he says, let this fellow pour his heart out first. Let me not cut it short at this time. Let the whole thing come out. Let all the pus be drained first before I start speaking. And Arjuna continues. In fact, in the next slokas, he starts arguing his case like a lawyer for not fighting this battle. Earlier, resolve was to fight the battle. Now he is coming up with all sorts of justifications why he should not fight this battle. It started with Swajanam, my people. Now he will, in the next few slokas, he will come up with numerous justifications for withdrawing from this battle. So we will see that shlokas in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Namaste,
Mama.
Guruji.
Namaskaram.
Thank you. Namaskaram.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Guruji. Hari Om.
Thank you, Mama.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Guruji,
Thank you.
Guruji, I have a
I have
question.
one question to ask.
Please, yes, please. One
I'm
by
sorry.
one. No problem.
You can go ahead.
Yes,
Ladies first.
The
remember
ladies.
remember in Vedanta, I mean, I think Vishnu Sahasranam class, I'm not 100%. It says samsara is defined as the life of becoming, right? Like Pujya Swamiji explained. This is one part. And here in Gita, samsara is defined by raga and raga, shoka and moha.
Correct.
So is it right to explain the life of becoming, you know, so much is involved, that becomes raga, shoka and moha? Is that what it is?
It's all interconnected because you see the samsara actually you can look at it from different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So what is samsara? Ultimately, it is a bondage, right?
Yes.
It is a bandhana. Now,
Yes.
what are things bind you to continue in this, the kind of life that we are leading?
Raga binds you.
Raga binds us. Then also the life of becoming binds us, because what is again binding is that is also coming out of raga only, isn't it?
Yes.
Because suppose you are something now, and you develop a raga for some becoming something different than what you are now.
Yes.
So that also has got its source in raga only. The life of becoming also has got its source in raga only. So ultimately, when you actually trace all our problems in our life, we will actually come down to only two things, raga and dvesha. And all problems, whether you talk about kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, acharya, or even other problems which we may face at physical level, everything comes from this raga and dvesha only. That is the source. So there, Puja Swamiji takes that from raga, what is the consequence of that raga? Consequence of that raga is a life of becoming. Because you are not satisfied with what you are now, you want to become something other than you. That is why life of becoming. You keep on becoming one after the other. Then finally you lay down and then you no longer capable of becoming anything.
Thank you,
So,
Raghuji.
both the same thing only, rather from different perspectives and different angles, we understand it. But if you understand, raga is the basic problem of samsara, you are done. Then you manage the raga, everything else will get managed.
Okay.
Axel
Thank you,
will
Raghuji.
be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Sanjeev.
My question is like this. Okay, it has been deeply analyzed by Swami Shankaracharya, various like Swami Dayananda Saraswati and so on. Is there anybody who has analyzed it in a different fashion? Like for example, I've had two Shakespeare's play when I was doing my degree course. One was a Tempest, which was one is a tragedy, another is a comedy. Like I had Hamlet. Hamlet is very critically analyzed by various critics. Likewise, here, like Arjuna says, you position me between the two armies. Now, when he is looking at first Dronacharya and then his grandfather, Bhishma, that is when probably his mind changes. And he looks at all the relatives. Had it been the other way around, only say Duryodhana and his brothers were in the front row, and these people had they been at the back row and not visible to him, do you think he would have straightaway waged a war?
Possible. And that is why, Swami Paramathananda says, that deliberately Krishna took the chariot where Arjuna could see Drona and Bhishma. Because Krishna, you see, we have to just take it a little back also. Krishna, we know, is what? He is Bhagwan. He is a omniscient. He knows everything what is going to happen.
Strategist.
So his strategy is he wants this Arjuna to come out with this so that in fact, Swami Paramatmananda goes to the extent of saying that Krishna as a guru wanted to teach Arjuna Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So he was creating a situation where Arjuna will come and ask for the teaching. So all that is fine, but you are absolutely right that if he had seen only Duryodhana and company, there would not have been Bhagavad Gita at all.
Bhagavad Gita at all, yes.
Exactly, because it is only because of Drona and Bhishma the whole problem started. And Krishna put it exactly there in front of Drona and Bhishma.
That was a deliberate thing.
Whether it is deliberate or it happened, that is not very clear from what Vyasacharya says. But what the consequence of that is what has happened, that because even before he put them in front of Drona and Bhishma, it was not that Arjuna did not know that Drona and Bhishma are fighting on the other side. Arjuna knew very well. Even the previous night, Arjuna knew that this is what is going to happen. But something made him, some thought came, let me see there everybody once again, who are all there to fight me, whom all I have to kill. And that with that kind of resolve is what he told Krishna to put the chariot. But now you see, because of that, what happened is totally, one night before, Arjuna himself could not have imagined or could not have believed that it would actually become like this. Isn't it?
It's psychological transformation now.
Psychological transformation. But as I said, what we should, our takeaway is focus on the teaching, Gita teaching. This is all
Correct.
sort of a build-up for that. It's a dramatization is not for the sake of dramatization, but this dramatization is for us to understand, sort of identify our problems with Arjuna's problems, and which is nothing but problems of attachment, which is what from Raga only all our samsara problems are emerging.
But are there any critics viewing from this angle what I asked you?
I have not come across. You see, there is a slight difference in interpretation. As I said, some people interpret Kripaya as compassion. So Arjuna had compassion and all that. Then somebody else say, no, if Arjuna had compassion, then he must be a jnani already. Then there is a question of Bhagavad Gita teaching that. So all those things are there. But I have not come across any commentary, whether it is from Ramakrishna Mission authors or from Chinmayanandaji, from Swami Dayananda Saraswati, all those people whom I have read, they have never given. Because when you talk about Shakespeare and all, Shakespeare actually presenting the consequences of that. When he is talking about to be, not to be, he is not analyzing why the to be and not to be is there. Whereas our Shastra analyzes to be and not to be will always be there, because that is the nature of the mind. Mind is like that only. It is only the intellect which is nischayatmaka, which can take a decision. Mind will always be oscillating.
Mind is like a yo-yo, like a swing.
Yo-yo rather. So it will be oscillating always rather. So there Shakespeare and all do not go into the psychological aspect or the analysis of the what should be done for avoiding to be, not to be. He doesn't talk about all those things. But here our Vedanta analyzes all those things and then presents us with a solution that if we have that problem, what we should do. That is how it is. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sulekha ji, yes.
Thank you, Guruji, for the explanation and for the talk today. My question is around the metaphor of the ripple and the wave that you spoke of, the first thought and the second thought. And the mind, if the mind is working so fast that it doesn't know when even the second thought comes, but multiple thoughts come, how does one even go towards the second thought? how does one capture the second thought to stop it? Is the question.
The first thought to stop it, to go into the second thought. So when the moment you allow the second thought to come, then you lose control over it. So the moment the first thought comes, it will come on its own. Become aware of that thought. All that we train ourselves in meditation is becoming more and more aware of each thought of ours. That is why the meditation is a practice which just helps us to watch our mind. Our mind is the biggest friend and also the biggest foe that we have. Very powerful thing, because mind comes before the intellect also. It is only the mind which refers everything to intellect for a decision. If the mind decides that I don't need to involve the intellect, intellect cannot come in on its own rather. So we have to do, our entire Vedanta is all about, how we manage this mind. For management, what information system has to be there. You have to have a MIS, and that MIS has to be automatically generated rather. How that is generated? Pause. See, what happens is, we are all living in such a fast world. The pace of our life itself, actually, whether the mind is going, rushing ahead, or we are rushing ahead, we are unable to find that out. So we need to actually, first step is slow down a lot in our pace. And the slowdown can happen only when we overcome this life of becoming. The fast pace is all driven by this life of becoming only. I am this, I got £1 million with me, I want to become 2 million pounder. 2 million, I want to earn 2 million pounds. So you go on rushing. I have to run faster. In fact, when in my management school and all, when I was studying, they used to say a very famous quotation: you have to run faster to stay where you are. That was the condition of the life, of corporate life rather. Wherever you are to stay there, you have to run faster than what you were running earlier. So by doing that, what we are doing, we are also allowing our mind to run faster and faster and faster. Then where is the question of observing what thoughts are coming, what thoughts are not coming, whether I should act or I should react? There is no time, no space for that. So first of all, we need to create that space, that when the thought comes, we are aware of the thought. Then the intellect tells, shut up, don't do it, don't react. And if you practice it, it happens. I mean, it is not at all difficult rather. But first step is our own pace of life. We will have to slow it down. And most of the people like me and all, it has happened along with old age. As we grow old, generally we become, slow paced rather in everything, in walking, in talking, in eating, everything we become slow paced. So the mind also automatically becomes slow paced rather. Slow pace does not mean that it is a lazy mind. Slow paced mind means it is taking its own time. It's like a elephant mind, I will call. An elephant, majestically it walks at a slow pace. That kind of an elephant mind you develop. Slowly, whatever happens, think about it. Don't react immediately. All those things, are there. And many people, in fact, I had a friend of mine who was a very good advisor. He used to tell me that, well, I was very, I used to be very reactive. Somebody tells something. In fact, I was general secretary of a association, sort of our alumni association. We used to have a lot of programs and I used to organize that. Once I had a fight with somebody. And I told I'm going to resign and all that, and this I can't work with these people, blah, 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 and all, very furious, and wrote a big letter, resignation letter, giving all sorts of reasons why I should, like Arjuna is going to give now, all sorts of reasons why he should not fight. I used to give. Then he was the president, this advisor. I sent it to him. Then he told me, he called me, he said, you keep this letter with you. Tomorrow you read this letter again, and then think whether you want to give me this letter again or not. Honestly, believe me, the next day, I read that letter and I myself felt how foolish I am reacting to this kind of thing. After all, what big thing has happened? That guy in the meeting said something to me, right? Why should I react so much, so badly? So I went back to this gentleman. I told him that, I get your point. When I read that letter, I have torn it off. I'm not submitting my resignation. He says, he gave me that lesson. He says, whenever you are in a state where your mind is totally overtaking you, calm it down, slow it down, give it time, give it 24 hours time. Then you again bring back that subject, you will see the mind is now differently, it will tell you, or it will react differently. So all these things we have to consciously practice. And spirituality is all sadhanas are all about this only. So that's how we have to develop. I hope I answered your question. How to do it? You have to first slow down your mind. Watch first thought when it comes, watch that thought and don't allow the second thought to creep in. Let the ripple remain a ripple, not become a wave.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Guruji. That's very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Doubts? Comments? Yes, Hariji. Nice to see you back.
Thank you, Guruji. Very nicely explained today.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Good lessons.
Thank you.
Hari Om. I have read somewhere that most of the serious problems, they happen because of our casual thought, without any intellectual support. If Arjuna felt just to see the people who were fighting in the war, and so he casually told Krishna, you please take me to the middle of the war front. Let me see who all are there. There was no intention behind his asking. It was very casual. If he had
not only casual, it was a sort of, anybody will do. Any person who is going to fight, he would want to see whom or all he is fighting. So it's a very natural, casual thing rather. You're right.
Whereas only Arjuna asked that. Bhishma or Drona, they didn't have this, let me go and stand in the middle of the war front and then see. So it was, in this case, it was only Arjuna's casual thought.
Yes.
He never had the intention to critically analyze. He just wanted to see them.
Yes.
And that made him to fall down.
Yes. That is to see, that is why this attachment problem, many of us, we will become very defensive when somebody says you are attached and things like that and all. People say, no, we don't have attachment. But the problem is it surfaces, without our knowing, suddenly it will surface at some situations rather. So Arjuna, of course, the attachment will be there. The sense of belongings will be there in the mind.
Yeah.
But all along, his warrior Arjuna was overpowering that sense of attachment. Here, suddenly, it burst out like a...
It was a casual thought.
It was a casual talk, but it became a very serious affair.
Yeah.
But thanks it happened, because then we got Gita. Otherwise, we would not have got Gita.
Also, probably Guruji, because when he was fighting with Virat at that time, he was aligned to one side, right? I think when he came to the middle only, he could assess both sides. This thing, when he was if he was standing in the side of Pandavas, maybe he wouldn't have had this problem. He would have seen them as opposition. Probably he was in the middle, so he could not just see them as opposition.
Yeah, that's true.
When he fought earlier, when he fought when they were in the Virat kingdom, he could easily see them as opposition because he was on one side, they were opposite.
No, but
No,
that's
maybe in
true.
the middle.
But here, you see, his problem is not that other relatives. Well, in later slokas it will come. He will say, how can I kill my guru and how can I kill my Pitamaha? So his problem basically is the attachment towards Dronacharya and Bhishmacharya. Others are there, no doubt. From his own side also is there. So he says that, by killing Guru, Maha Papam I will get.
Papam.
Ah,
Yeah.
Guru Hatva Mahanubhavan, he will trying to teach Krishna what is dharma. That how I will get papam and all that, kulastri and all there will be Varna Sankara, all those things he will give. We will see all those slokas, So here, the main problem Arjuna faced was when he saw the face of these two people. And then the flashback happened. All playing in the lap of Bhishmacharya and doing so many things. And Bhishmacharya, small Kutti Arjuna, he would throw him up and catch him and all that, and he will laugh. All those flashback scenes, we see in movies and all that. That occurred, that happened. Arjuna. So that is where he got. Otherwise, other people, yes, that's why he says Swajanam with all my people. He suddenly sees everybody on both the sides as his own people, right?
Correct.
So that is true. I mean, that's what triggered, I think, probably the whole thing, the whole thought.
So Guruji, the casual thought explained, and we talked about it. The casual thought is also a kind of a play of mind, because he's a warrior and he has this warrior thing in his mind, and the mind thought, okay, we cannot tell him directly. Okay, maybe we will tell him to go and see. Hey, go and see what's there, who's there. That's a kind of play of his mind.
See, in the thought occurring, whether it is a casual thought or what is a non-casual thought, there is no such classification. A thought is a thought. It may occur for any reason, right? Suppose there are two people fighting. You are not involved in that. I'm just giving you an example. Two people fighting, and one person calls another person, you are an idiot. You hear that word idiot. Now, that word itself can trigger a thought in your mind, oh, the same word was used for me by somebody else.
Yeah.
Then your mind will take you to that scene where you had a fight with somebody, and then all those consequences of that, everything, this fight, you will forget what is happening in your front. But your mind.
Then you will fight with your mind.
Absolutely. So there's nothing, a casual thought can occur very, very casually, but it can have serious consequences.
Yeah.
That is the problem. Yes, Sulekaji.
So Guruji, I have one more question if you don't mind.
Yeah, so let him finish, Sulekaji.
Yeah, the question is that, okay, so after talking about dealing with all this, mind and other stuff, I think that this samsara life is a kind of punishment by the God for us to clear up our karmas. Is it a karma life cycle for this?
Let us never look at it as a punishment, okay? Because samsara contains both happy experiences and sad experiences.
Right. Yeah.
In spirituality, what we are aiming, you must remember, is to overcome or to outgrow both happy and sad experiences.
Correct.
We are not saying that I don't want papa, but I will have a lot of punya. We don't say that in Vedanta. In Vedanta, we say I don't want any karma at all.
Right, zero.
I am going to now get that knowledge, because of which all my karmas are going to be destroyed. And my aim is not to get back into this situation again in my next birth. Let this be my last birth. I will suffer whatever, or I will not suffer. I will experience whatever is there for me in this birth. But that's the end of it. I don't want the next birth. Because next birth, I don't know what is going to be the situation. I'm totally unaware of it, right? So the aim of a Vedantin is a mumukshu. Mumukshu means what? Mokshena ichuhu. So he has got only one thing. He just wants liberation, freedom from all these experiences.
Happy, sadness, everything.
Happy, sadness, everything. He wants to go beyond. Right? Dvandva tita, beyond all pairs of opposite. Whether it's cold, happiness, cold, all these dvandvas, the pairs of two things, opposite things. He wants to go beyond that. But that is our real nature. Why? It's not that it is his desire or anything. That is his real nature. Rather, our real nature is that But we have lost that real nature is actually covered or what's a wheeled as it were by this great Maya lady, by our Shakti and this Vikshepa Shakti. So we are not able to understand that our ignorance is holding us back. So
Right. Thank you, Guruji. So to break out of this cycle, and then, did any gurus talk about what is beyond? No, nobody told me anything about that. What is beyond? Why we are looking for going to beyond? Beyond
what?
Beyond this, happiness, sadness, this cycle, and go moksha, to become moksha. So what is after that?
You don't actually become moksha. You just have to realize, understand that you are already moksha. You are actually that only. Your original nature, your real nature is you are free. You have created this problem of bondage yourself because of your ignorance of that fact.
Okay, so we are going back home. That's it.
We are going back home. It is just like a case, Swami Dayananda Saraswati gives a very nice example. There was a person who was a beggar. And he was begging in the streets and all that. On one fine day, some people came, some, warrior kind of people. So they caught hold of this beggar and tore his clothes, and they found some symbol on his chest. Then they found, oh, he is the lost prince. Begging on the streets. This fellow did not know that he was the lost prince. They told him that you are a lost prince. You are begging on the street. You come to the palace. You have to become the king now. Right? So he was always the king. That was his original position. But because of his ignorance, for whatever circumstances, he became a beggar. And he was begging on the streets. Then these soldiers came in the form of a guru and told him that you are actually regain your original position, my dear, become the king. Like that, we are all original position is, we are all Mukta Purushas only.
Okay, fantastic.
Because of our own problem, our own making, we have bound ourselves with all these karmas and this samsara, this happiness, happy experience, sad experience, and all that. In the search of happy experiences, we get sad experiences.
Fantastic explanation, Guruji.
You
So
see that,
one thing, the one thing which I was
all
missing is, why do we need to escape from this? What is beyond there? Now explain. You are belong to there.
You will be going on doing this. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. In this janma, like this, next janma, one more janma. Then, birth, growing up, old age, disease, all these things will continue. If you are happy with that, then no problem. Don't go for Vedanta, moksha and all. No problem at all. But what Vedanta says is that your spiritual journey has started some crores of births ago. Your end journey is that moksha only. At the end, every jiva will end up with moksha only.
It is a circle, so you have to come there.
Huh?
It is a circle, so you have to come there.
It's a circle. You have to come back to the same point.
Right.
So if you know how to do a shortcut and come back to that point, I am teaching you that. You want to do that, do that.
Going through the diameter.
Going round and round and round and round. So like in some Tom and Jerry, comic and all that, they will go round and round and round. And then that Tom will stop at one place and the Jerry will keep on going round and round. And
Right.
Like that. You go on round and round and round, Punarapi Janam, Punarapi Maranam, and all that. But all gurus who are all, Adi Shankara and all our Jagat gurus and all, they have told that there is a secret formula available for you to get rid of all these problems.
Right.
That secret formula is this.
This
formula, and this formula you can use only when you are in a human birth.
Right.
You cannot use this formula in any other birth.
Correct.
So if you are an animal, you cannot do Vedanta in animal, You can only probably, even if you are aware of it, you can only listen. You can't practice.
So basically they're saying that, you have been lost somewhere. Do you want to go back home? Do this.
Go back home.
Yeah.
That is identify your true nature. Once you identify your true nature, the Shastras say that all your karmas will be destroyed. When you actually realize that what your true nature is, that I am Satchidananda Swarupa and I abide in that knowledge. It is not just at the intellectual level knowing I am Satchidananda Swarupa and then having all Avankara, Mamakara, everything.
Right. Right.
You have to dilute your ego completely for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you do, there's a lot of formula involved in that, lot of work is involved. Once
yeah.
you do all that, then you abide in that knowledge of Satchidananda Swarupa. Shastra says all your karmas are destroyed. Shankaracharya says destroyed from their roots. They are roasted, he says. They are like roasted seeds, your karmas. Means what? They can't sprout.
It will never grow. It will not grow.
It will not sprout. So it will not sprout means you won't have another birth.
Okay. Okay.
That's the end of the story. Then you can stand up and sing Janaganamana. So no more birth for me. I am free. I am liberated. I am mukta. I
am back home.
I am now mukta. That's it. Individuality is totally, completely gone, and you have become one with totality. You understand that I am actually a part of this total, or I am the total. Total represents me, I represent the total, so I am one with the total. That is what is moksha and all about.
Fantastic, Guruji. So that go back home part is what I was missing in my mind.
Yes, go back home is what Vedanta is all about. Understand,
thank you, Guruji.
realize, get the knowledge of your true nature, what your original nature is. All this body, mind, sense, complex and all are all not your true nature, which unfortunately you have taken it to be your nature, and then all the suffering is because of that.
Because of that.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Guruji. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Sulekha ji, you had raised your hand.
Thank you, Guruji. I thought the explanation that you just gave was quite excellent. My question is on the I think process. You mentioned Arjuna's dilemma, going from a warrior to a samskari, then coming to the point as a disciple. It's a universal example, I think, for all of us, at least I'm taking it as such. The point of becoming a disciple, or that point of recognizing that you're a student on this spiritual path rather than following a samskari path, are they two divergent paths? Can you still abide in a point where you are aware, you are abiding, and you are working on that journey or walking on that journey? And can you also be in a transactional world? How is that balance developed?
No problem at all. See, transactions, with what attitude you are carrying out the transaction is what matters rather. If with a karma yoga attitude, if you approach all your transactions in your life, and what karma yoga attitude is, whatever I am doing, I am actually offering it as my offering to Ishvara, and whatever I get in return for that, I will accept it at Ishvara Prasada. With that bhavana, if you do all your transactions, that itself is a very great sadhana for Chitta Shuddhi. You don't need to isolate yourself from the world at all. Only thing you have to do is change your perspective, how you approach the world. How you allow the world to approach you, change your perspective. That's it. So once you do that, you will find automatically, it will be like, that friction which is causing all the problems of samsara, that friction is actually getting lot more lubrication. And this spiritual journey will, move faster rather because of that lubrication. And this, I am not just theorizing, I am personally experiencing all these things. I have experienced, even today I'm experiencing every day, honestly speaking. I get up in the morning, feel I am a better person today in all my transactions than what I was yesterday. This feeling I keep on getting. So that actually motivates me to know, okay, what is the thing that I have done right, so I should do it more. So this way it is progressing very nicely. Rather, things with which I used to get upset some time ago, now I find that the very same thing do not upset me at all, because automatically, I am not doing anything very, consciously for that. Once I started doing it, as I said, it's self-lubrication. It just goes on in that particular, and it takes you. And that is what Ishwara's grace is all about, rather. It will automatically take you there, and you don't need to worry much about it at all. In fact, if you worry about it, then you have a problem of samsara. If you don't worry about it, it will happen automatically. That is, I am experiencing it. I am just sharing what I am experiencing with you all. That's all. So it is not something that we are in a world, we have got wife, we have got a family, we have got children and all. So I cannot do all the, I used to believe in all these things. In fact, one Swamiji Chinmaya Guru, I told him on his face that you are a sannyasi, you can talk all these things. You have no father, no mother, no children and all that. And you can talk about all these things. Try to become a householder. What kind of a problem we face, you will not understand. This I told to a one sannyasi a few years ago. Now I feel that I was simply stupid and ignorant at that time when I spoke to him like that. I shouldn't have spoken. But that
So,
was
so Guruji, what was the answer from him? I would like to know
and
that.
kept quiet.
Oh, he didn't say anything.
Yeah, he didn't say anything. He smiled and kept quiet. He didn't give me any answer. Because
Oh
I
my
didn't ask a
God.
question. I made a statement.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
He said about all these things, you must develop all this, Viveka, Vairagya and all that. I said, it's easy for you to say all these things, Swamiji, but it's not easy. You be in my shoes and then see what Viveka, Vairagya you are talking. These were exactly what I told him. He smiled and kept quiet. He didn't give me anything, no comment, no observation. But these things are all I keep on, that comes to my mind. Okay, so I was like that. Now I see myself how I am. I am now totally convinced that with being within a samsara, within all these transaction, worldly affairs, it is possible, but it is difficult. As Swami Paramatmananda says, the most difficult thing is being a grihastha to develop a sannyasi attitude. So if you actually are able to do that, he says that is the most superior, most sannyasi. You are within the problems, but you are unaffected by the problems. And as Swamiji says, you have been able to develop the distance between yourself and everything else around you. You have isolated yourself without being seen as being isolated. Everybody considers you as part of them, but in your mind, you have isolated yourself. That space, the space which exists between Amitabh Bachchan and the role that he plays, a space which exists between Rajinikanth and the roles he plays, that space that you have created, you have understood what is it about this samsara, this worldly life. It's all role play. As long as you retain your original understanding of what you are, everything else is role play. You play that role to the best of your ability for that period. Forget that role. Go to another role. Today you play father's role, husband's role, then son's role or brother's role. Whatever role you are playing, play that role. Whatever the script is there, but don't get involved and emotionally carried away by that role. The moment you do that, you are drowning yourself in samsara. So you can still be a sannyasi within the framework of our household. You can. I'm trying to practice that, and I personally feel I'm succeeding to a large extent in that. And as I told you, converting all special relation to general relationships. So once you convert the general relationships, what happens? What the feeling you get experience when you help those people, you feel a great happiness, as if you have helped somebody who is not known to you. When in a special relationship, when you are actually helping somebody, there is an expectation. I have done this for that fellow, that I expect that person to do this for me. This expectation is there in special relationships. I have brought up my children with such great love and care. Now I am old. I expect my children to reciprocate that to me. Special relationship. General relationship, I played the role as a father. I did whatever best I could do within the means available to me. They have grown up now. They are on their own path. So I have no expectation from them. They call me, talk to me, fine. They don't call me, talk to me, also fine. So no problem at all. If they want any help, any advice, they call me, I will give whatever best advice I can give. If they want some money from me, if I have it, I will happily give it to them. If they say, no, I don't want your money, I don't want to take your obligation, I will not feel hurt about it. I'll say, okay, fine. I'm glad that you are able to stand on your own feet. So this distance, if we start creating with our converting the special relationship into general relationships, I tell you, you get a different kind of joy. That is what I personally feel. That is what is our Ananda Swarupa joy you get. The Swarupa happiness, Ananda you get, not Vishayananda. So those things are possible. I am experimenting on all those things and they are happening. And I'm quite satisfied with that progress. And of course, I can talk about all these things to you because you are students and you are come here to learn that. I cannot talk about things to other people, and they will think that by converting special relationship to general relationship, I am actually throwing them out of my life and things like that and all. They won't understand A, B, C, D of all these things. So even when I talk to you all these things, this is a process which you have to practice and then, keep everybody in good humor, not allow anybody to suspect something that you are actually doing some conspiracy behind their back or anything like that. It is for your growth, your spiritual growth, nothing to do with them. So far as they are concerned, they may feel a little bit that you are actually acting as a little detached and things like that and all. They may feel like that initially, but after some time they will accept it. Okay, so this fellow is gone. Now nothing can be done about him. Let him accept him. Accept him as he is. That they will reconcile with that situation. So all these things, we have to keep on experimenting with ourselves. That is the only sadhana I have found, because we will come across so many circumstances, so many I would say contexts where we may not know the ready answer. We can't look up the Vedantas, what this particular thing happens, what should I do? We have to find the solutions ourselves now.
Thank you, Guruji. That's so beautiful. And I deeply appreciate your explanations and your talks. I think it's
another thing which I wanted to tell you, just the context is there. Vedanta talks about accepting people as they are. Now, this is also a very controversial, area. How do you accept people for what they are? Now, what if those people are all doing all wrong things, and how do you accept it? See,
I was about to ask this question, Guruji.
Yeah.
Absolutely got the point. I was waiting for the time to ask, but you got it. Thank you, Guruji. Please go ahead.
What we should understand is accepting and validating are two different things. We may accept a person, but we need not validate what that fellow is doing.
I don't understand.
The thing is, acceptance means what? Everybody does something because of a background. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that background could be his raga, dvesha background, or his background could be his upbringing background, or his background could be influence of the social circle which he moves around. If you actually sit and analyze, and Vedanta is all about analyzing everything to the minutest detail, rather. If you analyze, action or any action on the part of anybody is always driven by some background. Once we understand that background, then we will actually start empathizing with that action of that person. Just to give you a very crude example, we are walking on the street, and this in India and all that, we can find it more often than in the West.
Right.
Walking on the street, there will be a person, some men or some man or woman with completely clothes torn, almost half naked. hair and all completely, disheveled and not taken bath for months together, but throwing stones at going cars or something and then scratching the back and all that. We see such characters on the roads.
Right.
In India, at least I've seen them in Bombay. I've seen such characters in Coimbatore and all. Even street children and all will be actually chasing them and throwing stones at them and things like that and all, right?
Right.
But when we see such people, do we think that those people are being driven by some motive to do all these things? We have a sympathy for such people. Because we know that there is something seriously wrong with their psychology, or some problem they are facing, some physical, mental health problem is there. That is why they are doing all these things. So once we understand, then what happens is the sympathy which comes. We accept that person. We may not validate. We may not justify that it is okay. If you are like this, you can throw a stone at a passing car. We may not say that. But we say that we accept you as you are. We will try to help you from your situation. But that does not mean that what you are doing is right. Same approach we must take to all people around us whom we see swajana. If our problem with swajanam is that we don't accept that, and then we start fighting. So if you want to create that space, accept everybody as they are, you need not validate what they are doing. You need not say, because I am accepting you, I am also accepting your action. That you need not say. Say, I am accepting you, I can understand, but if you want, I can help you to overcome this problem which you are facing, or overcome this, especially with children. Rather, this is very, very important. Because what we try to be judgmental about people, and we judge people based upon their actions. Once you become judgmental, then you are throwing all acceptance to wind. Then you start judging people. Oh, he's a good person, he's a bad person, like that. I had a boss when I was in Canara Bank. He said that fellow is not a good person. I said, how do you say, sir? He's having a mustache. Can you imagine? Of course, I don't know whether he was saying it a joke or not. This guy, he did not like people with mustache. So he thought people who have got mustache are all bad people.
Bad people.
That was his,
that is his validation.
Well, validation. So like that, we must not have anybody. Anybody, I tell you, if you are a counselor, if you are a psychiatric, or what they call, a counselor, what counselor?
Counselor.
If you ask them, lot of people with problems only come to them. Their approach is this only. They never ever tell you that you are wrong. First, they will say, whatever you are, I accept. Then they go into the background of why that person is like this. Then they go to the root of the problem, and then they try to solve the problem from the root.
That's psychoanalysis.
Psychoanalysis. So Vedanta is nothing but, from a personal perspective, whenever we are talking about relationship with other people, it's all that is involved in psychoanalysis only. Why did that person do this to me? Instead of worrying about it, start thinking about it. You will find a reason why he did. Maybe there was something wrong with you, because of that reaction came from that person. Many times you will find that you are actually in the wrong, but you are not able to see that. So
right.
It's a long process. Rather, we need not get too deep into it. But as long as we are able to accept the person, create that space between us and roles, all those tips, if you carry in your mind, it is not a package deal. Rather, everything is included, like a passport, visa, everything is included in that. Then you can make good progress spiritually.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Nice experience. My experiences.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
Today,
Guruji.
Okay.
Today I got answers to a lot of my questions, which was lingering on.
See,
but definitely more to come.
We get some opportunity to talk about all these things, because depending on the context. That's all. So So whatever I know, whatever I have learned from my gurus, happily I will share with you. And of course, it is not that my learning is just like that. I am seriously putting the practice, putting to practice to whatever best extent possible, given my circumstances, whatever learnings that I have got. So that I can always share with you, rather what I am experiencing and where I feel I am going wrong or something like that.
Absolutely, Guruji. If you don't implement, then there is no point of
There is no point.
learning.
It remains a theoretical
Yeah.
knowledge, rather. We have to implement
Right.
it in our personal life. We have to implement it and see that it is succeeding for us. See, that is very important. To see success is very, very important.
Right.
So that, then that will motivate us to do more. Right.
Absolutely. That gratification is important.
Gratification is important. So it has to be, we have to realize that this is working. So let us do more of it. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay, thank you very much. I spent a lot of time in Satsanga, but I think it was useful and fruitful. So
Very, very useful, Ji.
we will
Thank you, Guruji.
meet on next Saturday. Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you very much.